Hi. So in this lecture we're going to cover backface culling. So what exactly is backface culling? It's exactly what it says it is. Culling back faces of polygons. And I'll demonstrate. Let's create a box. S to snap. Like so. Oops. Okay, just press the wrong button there. By the way, if you're in the middle of a process like this, pressing the right button in a blank space will cancel the operation like this. Boop. See, so that's quite useful to know. So let's build a box like so. Nice big green box. Let's change the colour to dark. It's just habit. I'm sorry, it's a bit OCD-ish, but it's a little bit of a habit I've got. Turn on edge faces so I can see. Right, okay, so here we have a box. All faces I can see. Let's go to modify. Let's turn that to a poly. Let's delete one of these. Let's press delete. Okay, now there it is. So there's my box without one of its quads, and you can see I can see inside it, and that's because it's rendering both sides of a polygon. In games this is not a good idea. It takes a lot of processing power to render both sides of a polygon, and in today's engines where polygons aren't really the bottleneck in rendering, it's just not worth the hassle to leave them like this. And I'll show you. So if you right click on an object, go to object properties and cull all back faces by ticking that box. And you should get into the habit of doing this as a default. When you start modeling, just tick that box, because you need to be able to see if back faces are culled or not. So if you tick that box and go OK, boom, suddenly my box disappears. Well, it actually hasn't disappeared, it's still there. It's just culling the back faces. And you can see I can see straight through, so it's not rendering both sides. And that's good. This is what you want, because rendering an object, a double-sided object like this, will have problems with lighting. So if you have a light on this side and it's shining on this edge, this face, it will appear the same on this side. It won't calculate new lighting. It just takes too much. And if you've got a texture on here and you've got UVs, then again you'll see it flipped on this side, and it's not what you want. So really, every time we start building a model, you'll see me go in here and tick that box, because this is how we need to see it, and this is how game engines render it. Mostly game engines can render double-sided. An exception to that rule is something like a particle, perhaps a symmetrical particle that doesn't really matter which way around it faces. If it's self-illuminated as well, then it doesn't matter if it's double-sided. That's what we call double-sided. If it's not rendering, if it's rendering both sides, it doesn't really matter if it's a particle, perhaps. But generally speaking, just get into the habit of ticking that box so you can see, especially when you get more complex models, especially clothing, things like that, because you don't want a nice scarf hanging off your character's neck and it's got, it's invisible on one side and solid on the other. Just double up the polygons. It doesn't really matter too much. So essentially that's backface culling. If I turn it back off, let me see. You can see it comes back on again. Boom. And it looks fine there, but trust me, in a game, it's not what you want. You need to, if I was to build this, I would build an interior. You can't, I wouldn't give it to the designers like this. It's not good. So make sure on all your objects this is ticked. Click OK, and you can see where they are, and you know where you need to build up the object. So that's backface culling. Just something you need to be aware of going forward. So that's it. I'll see you in the next lecture.